Support comes from Hampton Roads Community Foundation, partnering with donors from all walks of life to improve southeastern Virginia through grants, scholarships, and leadership initiatives. Learn more at hamptonroadscf.org.
Hello, everyone. I'm Barbara Hamley. He's a man of many talents, leading Newport News, Virginia, a city of more than 180,000, tackling head-on the big city issues like crime, unemployment, and affordable housing, while at the same time putting Newport News on the national stage after being tapped by the White House as one of 22 rising leaders. And not to mention, but he's a romantic. I'm talking about Mayor Phillip Jones. We're up close and personal with the youngest mayor ever directly elected to lead this peninsula city. Stay tuned. Another View will be right back after this national, regional, and local news from NPR and WHRO News.
Discussing today's topics from an African-American perspective, this is Another View.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Another View. I'm Barbara Hamley. Thank you all so much for those of you who came out last week to join us with our Juneteenth celebration. We had a great time out in the parking lot of WHRO, and we really appreciate it. And I hope that all of you listening today did something special yesterday to celebrate that momentous occasion. So I had the pleasure of serving as an instructor this spring for the Newport News Neighborhood Leadership Initiative, teaching communication skills to a group of dedicated citizens determined to make their neighborhoods and the city the best that they can be. I had the pleasure of interacting with our guest today. When Mayor Phillip Jones walks into a room, the smiles are wide and the greetings are genuine. So I'm happy to introduce the mayor to those of you who don't know him. Welcome to Another View, Mayor Jones. How you doing?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to get into the meat and potatoes of this conversation because I love Newport News.
Absolutely. So if someone can't stay for the entire hour, if they miss anything else other than this answer you're about to give, what is the most important thing people need to know about Newport News?
I believe that Newport News is the best place to live, to work, and to raise your family. And the city is at an inflection point. There is all this new energy, investments, Jefferson Laboratory, Canon. We have all of these companies coming to Newport News, and I want everyone to know that Newport News is at the vanguard of innovation and collaboration for the entire Hampton Roads region.
So how do you switch then the perception? Because let's be honest, some people have a perception that even the people that were in the Institute that we worked with, and we talked about changing perception. How do we change the perception that it is a good place to live? I read an article where when you were moving here and when your then girlfriend, now wife, were moving here, even the real estate agent said, live someplace else. So how do we turn that around so that people understand that it's a different Newport News than they may have known before?
The first speech that I gave to the Chamber of Commerce after we won the election, I said, bad news, that moniker is no more. There's only good things and good things that are going to be happening in Newport News. And I tell everyone, everywhere that I go, as mayor, I'm the chief brand officer of the city. At the White House, when I talk to other mayors, when we go all across the country, I tell everyone the good things that are happening. But what I need are all of our other stakeholders. I need our nonprofits, our educators, our businesses. Everyone needs to tell the story of not only Hampton Roads, but also Newport News, because all of us are the brand ambassadors. And I preach to staff every day, we need to change the narrative. And if we do not create and curate our narrative, others will do it for us.
Absolutely. So why become mayor? I mean, you're young, you're Harvard educated, you're a former, or you're still in the military service, in the reserves, Marine Reserves. Mm-hmm. So many different directions you could have gone into. Why mayor?
I love mayor. Mayor is my dream job because you are high enough where you're able to leverage over $1 billion in Newport News for our operating budget. but you're also low enough where I shop at Food Lion. You'll see me in the gym. You're really able to get a pulse on the community. And what I tell everyone is the two hardest jobs in politics, I believe, are city council and school board, because that is where the rubber meets the road and people are really interested in. And so for me, I always knew that I wanted to come back to Hampton Roads. I thought I was going to create a bank or a CDFI. And it just happened that the fates aligned. Time worked. There was a vacancy in the mayor's office. I thought that we had a really strong shot, not for Phillip Jones, but to change the narrative of Newport News.
You know, there's this group of you all across the country, younger people under 40 that are running major cities. You know, you've got Stoney LeVar in Richmond. You've got Brandon Scott in Baltimore, you know, Birmingham, all these different places. What do you think is happening that particularly African-American males are jumping in and saying, you know what, we're going to make a difference in our cities?
So first, I want to say there is a young mayor's group chat, so I know everyone's listening in. So to all my other mayors,
I'll call in a minute. I'll give the number.
Exactly. I appreciate all the support. Justin Biv in Cleveland and Steve Reed in Montgomery, et cetera. But I think when you look at these cities, especially in the South, there is a renaissance that's happening. We're realizing that the federal government is not going to be the savior and they're not going to fix everything. It's really going to be on the people in the city. And I see across the South, I see a new brand of leaders stepping up. I'm really excited that this past week in Alexandria, for the first time ever, they're going to have the first Black female mayor, and that's like the 5th or 6th, largest city in Virginia. So I'm excited for her, for Aaliyah, when she gets to join the group chat. So I see across the South, people are stepping up, because at the end of the day, if we don't fix it, who's going to fix it?
Absolutely. And the mayor of Rockville in my home state of Maryland, obviously Brandon Scott in Baltimore, they're just, all of you all are just doing some exciting things. So let's talk about Newport News specifically.
Okay.
And I want to talk about you politically first, and then we'll do the personal later. Okay. So a couple of initiatives you have going on. For example, the HUD Choice Neighborhood initiative for the Marshall Ridley community. What does that do for enhancing the city? What's going on with that?
So the first thing I would say, it's not a one-man show. You have city council, which is, they let me, a mayor is only as strong as its council, and I appreciate their support in allowing me to sort of run and push the city. And then on the other side of the house, you have the city manager, you have the department head. So it really is a strong culture in Newport News. And I always tell everyone, it's Team Newport News. It's our nonprofits, it's our university presidents. Everyone comes together. But I think when you look at what we're doing in the Southeast, I give a lot of credit to the former mayor, Mayor Price. He's from downtown. He's from the Southeast. They were able to get the very large C&I, $30 million grant, which when you add in all the strap hangers was more like $80 or $90 million. Yeah. But I think what you're going to see is new energy and new life in that Southeast, that downtown part of Newport News. And if that part is able to lift up a little bit, then the entire city will lift up.
And is it mixed income, mixed use, et cetera?
It is. Okay. It is. And when you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, housing is a human right, right? Before we do all of the social programs and the youth programming that we're going to get into, and night nets and all these amazing things, people have to have a safe place to live. And we have some of the land in Newport News. So I give a shout out to Mayor Price. Strong foundation. I'm happy to build on that. Okay.
And what do you say to those who push back and say it's gentrification?
I think that's a hard line. I would defer to my colleague Mayor Stoney in Richmond. I think they're doing a pretty good job. But studies have shown that concentrated poverty is not good for anyone. It doesn't matter if you where you live in the country, what race, what color you are. It does not matter. And so by having mixed income, that is what public policy says is the best for our residents and for the entire community. And so I hear the concerns, but it's done in a deliberate manner. Additionally, the best part about being mayor is I get to talk to everyone. And so we've had dozens of work groups and charrettes and focus groups and talking to people. So they very much are part of the decision making.
So it was not a top down. It was really a community effort in terms of what was going to happen and what they were looking for.
The way I lead is bottom up. That has to be. It's their community. It's those people who live there, and we want to what's best for everyone.
Let me ask you a question, Mayor.
Yeah.
Is Newport News a split city? In other words, is there a white Newport News and a black Newport News?
I wouldn't call it a white or black Newport News. I would say there's probably 12 to 15 different versions of Newport News based on your neighborhood, based on a transient military population, based on city center, Denby, Hilton Village. So I wouldn't say white, black. I would say a dozen or so different pockets of Newport News. But I've always told everyone that diversity is a strength. We're 24, 25 miles long. We're a very, very skinny city. It takes me 35 minutes to go from south to north. Whatever you're looking for, you can probably find it in Newport News.
Okay. So Newport News is the place to go, right?
It is.
Okay. Let's talk about this summer youth program that you mentioned, because that was a $500 million initiative to help youth. And the youth are very important to you. Is it just because you're young, or do you really see that that's the place to start in order to make sure that things are going well?
Congressman Scott, he always talks about how we can create pipelines, and the pipelines have to extend all the way to that early child development, right? It's too hard to really try to impact someone when they're in 10th grade or 11th grade. You really have to get them early on. And so when I gave my first State of the City, with the entire city council behind me, with our partners at the schools, with the city manager, I declared that this year was going to be the year of the youth. It is a all hands on deck. The youth are going to be the future. That is our center of gravity. That is the most important thing that we have in Newport News is our youth, and we have to protect them. So the entire package is about $500 million, and it's spearheaded by two programs. One is the Mayor's Youth Career Program, which we entitled Councilman Vic, because she has been such a proponent of bringing back a way for youth employment for the summer. Additionally, to have a safe space for all of these youth, we have Night Nets, which is our version of basketball and pizza and haircuts and pool, and Chief Drew's out there and I'm out there and City Council's out there. And as I was doing on the campaign trail, people always told me, how can I get involved? Well, very easy. If you're a company, if you're a business, you can hire some of these youth. And number two, join me and play some basketball on Friday and really be a mentor to these kids.
So the Night Net happens over the weekends, or is it during the week? Yeah. How does it work?
So all summer in our two community centers. So in Denby Community Center and then in Achievable Dreams, which is downtown, from 5 until 11 p.m. Safe space, pizza, games, adults can come out. And it's a time to just have and celebrate the youth. Make sure they're protected, and we can mentor them along the way.
Yeah. Where are the jobs coming from? Are they just from through the city, or also private industry?
It's both. It's a combination. So I try to be the public-private partnership mayor, right? Because government cannot solve anything. Neither can the schools, higher ed, or the private. Everyone really has to come together. And so I would love every single company and business, not only in Newport News, but also in Hampton Roads, to take a chance and to hire some of these youth in Newport News. They're dedicated. Everyone needs a chance. And most important, it gets them off their community during the summer. Yeah. It's hot. My HVAC just broke last week, right? Like I know how hot it is, but the opportunity to get in at the ground level, they get a livable wage. They're able to learn a lot. That's what we're trying to focus on in Newport News.
And also they get exposed to different types of careers and so forth, so that they can make some decisions. 757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240 are the numbers to call to join our conversation. What questions do you have for Mayor Phillip Jones, of the mayor of Newport News? And he is not going to be able to answer your super personal questions, about your house. So, just keep that in mind as you call in. 757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Okay, I'm going to do economic development next, because I'm going to save crime for a little bit later, because that's a tougher topic. But economic development, what's happening in the city?
There's a lot. There's so much energy. Every time I walk around Newport News, I feel like there's a crane in the sky, or things are building. Last year we had both of our U.S. senators, we had the governor, we had our entire congressional delegation come down for the announcement of Jefferson Laboratory, which is
huge.
It's going to be insane. The positive externalities, the spinoff that you're going to get in STEM and STEAM are going to be tremendous. And if we can find a way to really leverage that and get PhDs to move to Newport News, that's more housing, that's more of a tax base, that's more involved citizens. I'm extremely excited about that. So you have that happening in City Center. But then 2 days ago, I was with President Jennifer Boykins of the Newport News Shipyard, with a 2-star admiral. We're going to break ground on a $120 million parking garage in downtown Newport News.
Yeah, I heard that's like a major deal.
It is, because it's a major deal because not only is it the federal government with the Navy, with the shipyard, it is collaboration at all levels, but it's taking care of the U.S. sailors. And as someone who's served for 12 years, the most important thing is we build the world's best nuclear aircraft carriers, and 1/3 of all submarines for the U.S. Navy are built here in Newport News. We need to ensure that we have the highest quality of life for our U.S. sailors and Marines. So I'm excited for the $120 million. I'm excited that this is just going to be a drop in the bucket. There's going to be some more investments, I'm pretty sure, going to happen in the next year or so. And this is all goes to that new energy that's happening in downtown Newport News.
Do you have the capacity for people moving in? Like we were talking about the PhDs coming, for Jefferson Lab and so forth. Is the housing stock there?
The housing stock is there. It could always be better, but give us a few more months. We're really trying to look at the north part of our city. That Lee Hall area is going to be a prime area to build large houses, large communities, and that's basically South Williamsburg, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to be able to just
you're creeping into Williamsburg, right?
So I'm sure Mayor Pond's listening, but Doug, I got to take a little bit of that South Williamsburg crowd and move them to Newport News. So there is tremendous energy, tremendous investment. And then the last thing I'll say is we were really able to leverage Harvard Bloomberg, which they picked our city out of 20 cities across the country. And they were able to come down, take a look at Newport News and say, okay, this is what I would recommend. It was almost $2 or $3 million of free consulting advice. And now they continue to be a thought partner as we look at the future of downtown Newport News.
That is fantastic. 757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Dorothy joins us from Newport News. Hi, Dorothy. You're on the air.
Hi, thank you. I would like to ask the mayor what he is doing, or can he do anything about the crisis for affordable housing in Newport News. I am 62 years old, and for the first time in my life, I find myself struggling to find a place that I can afford. Not everybody can afford $1,000 a month plus. There are a few places that, like Great Oak or Berkeley and Hampton, but there are very few and far between. It takes forever to get on the waiting list, and then once you're on the waiting list, it takes forever to get a place to live. So between the affordable housing and the homelessness, which I know is a separate issue, but these are real problems in Hampton and Newport News, and I'm wondering what you're doing, or is there anything you can do to correct that?
Thank you, Dorothy, for the call. We appreciate it.
I got it. Dorothy, thank you so much for calling in. So I want to give a special shout out to Councilman Cleon Long. On City Council, he is our housing advocate. He's the one that's really leading this charge. So there's two things. We still have a lot of our ARPA funds, which is the American Rescue Plan funds that we can use at any time. We've already dedicated about $5 million of that to our unhoused population. So that has been, in this administration, we are going to ensure that everyone is able to afford houses. Like that is just going to be the bottom line. So $5 million is set aside for our unhoused population, and we'll have more information coming that out in a few months. With Councilman Long, we're looking at what Richmond has done. They have a housing land trust. It's going to be a way that we can encourage individuals to buy houses. So Hampton and Newport News are about 92% built out. So we are running out of land, but perhaps we look at building up, right? We can look at changing some of the single family home and the dwelling rules. That way, Dorothy, it's going to be easier to build houses and build up instead of just having one single family home on one lot.
Right. Got you. Okay. I want to talk to you about crime, because every city it's an issue that it's a nationwide issue.
It is.
And particularly within the African American community, it's reached epidemic proportions at this point. First of all, you have Chief Drew, who clearly is engaged and looking at unique and innovative ways to turn things around.
Mm-hmm.
But from your perspective, how are you doing in terms of dealing with crime, and what do you think needs to happen to change it?
So first, I would say that Newport News is about 40% year over year down in homicides, and I give full credit to Chief Drew and that amazing staff. That is the best police force in Hampton Roads, I'll bet, in the country. And it's because they do community policing. They don't just show up when bad things happen. They are there day in and day out. They walk the point, and I think that pays dividends in the community.
Building trust.
That is the most important thing. It's what we did in the Marine Corps. It's what Chief Drew does. He's a thought partner. And the way that we are looking at how can we reduce gun violence in Newport News is through these youth programs. If I'm able to get the youth off the streets at an early age, then when they're 16, 17, 18, we've already intervened on their behalf. Mm-hmm. So that's how we're doing it in Newport News. Let's get them early on. Let's give them resources, wraparound services, mentoring, a safe space, jobs, etc. That's the way that we're gonna tackle this crime in Newport News.
When you look at the ages of people, obviously you had the Rich Neck Elementary School shooting.
We did.
There have been other instances where these are babies.
Yeah.
That are getting access to guns and so forth. Is gun possession or gun safety, any of that, a part of your initiatives?
I would say that across Hampton Roads, all of the mayors, led by Virginia Beach Mayor Bobby Dyer, we meet and talk about gun violence on a quarterly basis, because crime that happens in Hampton is going to go into Newport News. It's going to go across. It's going to South Side. So it is all connected. There's too many guns in this country. Like that, it is what it is. But what we can do is make policies that prevent young people from getting their hands on those weapons.
Yeah. 757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. John joins us from Newport News. Hi, John. You're on the air.
Hey there. I'm John Vanicate from Jefferson Lab. I just love to call because I'm one of those PhDs you were just talking about. Came all the way to Newport News. I'm actually from Germany, so I really came all big pond. And to give a quick shout out to the mayor, I had the pleasure to meet him recently when we had this ribbon tying event for the new building at Jefferson Lab. And I got to say, as weird as it sounds, I just turned 38 last year. I like a mayor that makes me look old. So really, way to go. Love your initiative. And I'm German. I can't vote yet. I'll work on that. But you would have my vote one time. So,
Thank you, John, for the call. We appreciate that.
John, thank you so much. Newport News is only as strong as its stakeholders, and Jefferson Laboratory in the heart of our city. I'm excited when we have all these commercial spinoff and really able to leverage all the innovation that happens there, because most people in Newport News, they don't know what the laboratory does, but once we have commercial spinoff and we're able to have things and invent things, Newport News will really see the importance of that laboratory.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go to Sherry in Portsmouth. Hi, Sherry. You're on the air.
Hey, Barbara. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good. Yesterday I was at the White House with the National Juneteenth presentation of my play, Abolitionist Museum.
Oh, congratulations, Sherry.
It was really quite exciting. And Mayor, welcome to the world of Tidewater, Hampton Roads, and politics and history.
Thank you, ma'am.
It's a wonderful combination. Basically, the nation we are today in 2024 basically was born here in 1607 at Jamestown.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, 12 years later, when the Africans got there in 1619, the mold for what America was to be was there at Fort Monroe. And so what we would love to see happening there is a more understanding of the history of Fort Monroe. Mm-hmm. And we think a think tank a think tank would be a perfect way to be able to bring together the energy of the past and the present and finding ways to create policies that will make a difference. So we would love to get your support of that, Mr. Mayor, and I hope that we will be able to talk about that in the future.
Sherry Bailey, thank you so much. Sherry Bailey, who is the woman for Juneteenth in this area and has done so much to help culturally. But
Sherry, I appreciate you. If you email me, I will get your number. I will talk to you. You 100% have my support, and the peninsula needs to do more things together. What happens in Newport News affects Hampton and vice versa. So you have my support, ma'am, and we'll talk to you soon.
And thank you also, because I saw that your Juneteenth celebration, you moved to Saturday and in the evening because of the heat.
Yes, ma'am.
So you're thinking about this across the board.
We're trying. It's going to be a good time. I'll be there. You're going to have all of the VIPs. It's going to be a good time. I want to invite everyone out to Victory Landing Park, 4 p.m. on Saturday. Going to be a good time.
All right. If you're just joining us, we're talking with the mayor of the city of Newport News, Mayor Phillip Jones, the youngest mayor ever directly elected to serve as the leader of this city of more than 180,000 residents. 757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240 are the numbers to call to join our conversation. What questions do you have for Mr. Mayor? Let me ask you a question. Do you get pushback when people say, oh, you just don't have any experience, you're so young?
I think I got that maybe within the first 2 months. But what I push back on the campaign trail is there are members of Congress that are 27 and 28. I led 200 men on 4 continents, and I think you'd be hard-pressed to find someone with that experience locally or in politics. Everything that I've learned has come from the Marine Corps. It's not the business. It's not the Harvard side. It's the Naval Academy. It's leading and serving with, I think, the best of America in North Africa, in Asia, in Europe. That's where I was taught leadership, and I try to bring that to Newport News. So no, I don't. I push back on the too young. I do.
So let's talk about Phillip Jones. Okay, the person, because you were born in Japan, Okinawa. Mm-hmm. So how did you get to Newport News?
So was born in Okinawa, Japan, and I tell everyone my story is really the story of my parents. Mom and dad were both Air Force Academy graduates. My mom was basically the third class that allowed women in. So they trailblazers the entire time. And so my dad was a pilot. My mom was a navigator. They had me in Okinawa, Japan, and we moved around a lot. But they retired at a Langley Air Force Base. So we moved to the area when I was in 5th grade, and we never left. So I've been a kid of the peninsula of Newport News and Hampton for, middle school all the way up.
Because you went to the Marines instead of and the Naval Academy instead of the Air Force?
Tremendous. And I did the opposite. So mom and dad are pilots. They're in the air, and I went infantry, right? So I did the exact opposite. I had no intention to fly. I love the Marine Corps. It is the biggest part of my identity. I think it's the best service, tip of the spear, et cetera. Mm-hmm. And it's not because what you do, but who you serve with. And I tell everyone, the Marines that I served with were not the strongest or the fastest or the brightest, but they were the willing. And I can work with the willing.
Mm. And so after you did the Marine Corps, then you went to Harvard.
I did.
Right? At what point did you pledge Omega Psi Phi? And why Q?
So I pledged in undergrad. I'm spring 2010. So I've been in 14 years. I've been in 14 years. I've pledged 2 lines. No, Omega, they sought me out. And they say Omega seeks no man, but everyone that I wanted to be like at the Naval Academy, in the Marine Corps, Charles Bolden, et cetera, were men of Omega. And so I tried to emulate that, and I was just very fortunate to be selected and go through that process. So I actually did that during my undergrad experience. So I did the Naval Academy, when I pledged, did 6 years in the Marine Corps with 2 deployments being Southeast Asia, Africa, Asia, et cetera. Europe. Got out in 2018. And that's when I did my 3 years at Harvard.
What made you decide not to make it a 20-year career?
I wanted to have just a different influence on life. And I'm still going to do my 20-year career in the reserves.
Because you're in the reserves, right?
Exactly. The way I look at it is servant leadership. And it's just being mayor is a natural extension to what I was doing in the Marine Corps. And ultimately, I look back at our community and I said, I think I can... my favorite book is The Spook Who Sat by the Door, right? I have all this knowledge, hopefully, that I'm gaining at Harvard. Let me take whatever I'm able to learn and bring it back to my community. So the goal was to come back in some capacity, either start a bank or do politics, maybe merge the two. And it just happened.
That the politics went out.
Exactly.
So when you take that Harvard education and you're, I understand from reading about you and so forth that you're quite a planner. But how realistic are the plans versus the daily realities of what you have to deal with?
So I would say when I came into mayor, I had the first year plan. And then one day into being mayor, we had the Rich Neck elementary scooting. So, and I realized very quickly that you have to pivot. But the thing I'm most excited about this year is I ran on the campaign trail. I said, we will be an all-America city in the first 4 years, or I will resign. That's what I said, because there has to be accountability, and that's what I ran on. And about 3 weeks ago, we were announced for the first time ever in Newport News history, we were the top 10 cities in America, all-America city. And that is not a reflection of me. That is a reflection of Team Newport News, from our university presidents to our city staff, to our nonprofits, to our pastors, to our everyone in the community. That was a win for the entire community. And what I will say is, on that stage, every single judge said, we had never heard of Newport News. We thought it was 20 or 30,000 people. You are a large city that has acted small, but now you are coming into your own, and you deserve to be on the national stage as a city. And I tell everyone, we are the largest city on the peninsula. It's time that we act like it.
Wow. That's congratulations.
Thank you.
That is fantastic. Okay. We got to talk about the engagement.
Okay. Let's do it. Let's do it.
So you're married to Dr. Jamila Winter.
I am.
And, but you did a very unique and, really romantic engagement. I was just blown away when I read about it. So tell us about it.
So we won the election in November of 2022. And about 2 weeks later, we got a call from the White House, and they said, we would love to invite you and about 10 other mayors who recently won to the White House, meet the cabinet secretaries, meet the vice president, etc. Originally, you can only bring yourself. That's fine. Then it said, oh, you can bring one more person. So I want to give a shout out to Ryan Jackson, who was my campaign manager. I was going to bring him as like my pseudo chief of staff. And he said, you know what? I'll be there eventually. He said, have you thought about proposing? And I said, well, I don't want to make it like I don't want to tie the engagement to politics. He's like, I think you should talk to her parents. So I called her mom and dad and I said, is this a good idea? And they were like 100%. And then they moved the date. So originally it was December 12th. They moved it to her birthday.
Oh, wow.
So now I have to do it. So I called the Democratic Mayor Association. They set everything up. So it was a long day. We met the president. The president, he's like, I heard you're getting engaged today. Like everyone on staff knew it was going to happen except for her.
Oh, my goodness.
And then at the very end of the day, before we loaded the buses, they said, hey, Mayor Jones, because I had interviews all day. You have one more interview. I bring Jamila. We go to the to Vice President Harris, the second husband's balcony, and that had all the staff hidden. I took her outside. We're looking at the monuments, and then I black out. I give her the ring, and it's a whole thing. But it was just amazing that she knocked doors with me. She was part of it from the very beginning, and it was a good way to honor her and honor that sacrifice.
Oh, did you ever think she might say no?
I was stressed. I said, what if because 10 other mayors already, so the whole group chat is like, when are you going to do it? Send photos. I was stressed, but I was able to pull it out. And we just got married about 2 or 3 weeks ago during Memorial Day weekend. So it was great.
Congratulations to both of you.
Thank you.
That is awesome. Children in the plans.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
So that sounds like then you're planning to settle here for a while. You're going to be here.
This is where I'm from. My parents live in Newport News, and I will say, the poll that they worked, that's how we knew that I was going to win mayor, is because after all the polls are counted, you get the count maybe 10 minutes before everyone else. My parents worked their local precinct, and my dad says, are you ready for the count? And he gives me the count and he says, you won, Mr. Mayor. And that's when I started getting emotional, because if I won that precinct, then I was going to carry the middle of the city. And so my parents still live here. My wife lives here. This is where I'm going to raise my family. And Newport News is at the vanguard of all innovation and collaboration. And as long as the city will have me, I'll stay.
Was politics a big discussion point in your family? I mean, growing up, tell me about your childhood and kind of how you dovetailed into that. So
we actually had really no politics in our family. I think with the military, you're always transient. I was international for half of my life. But I will say I had a cousin who unfortunately was killed in the Charleston 9 massacre at Mother Emanuel, but he was a state senator. So Clemente was my cousin. It was his church.
Oh, wow.
But seeing Clemente as a child and growing up, what he was able to do, I've realized that politics is just a lever. And as you look at the scales of justice, that's one way to balance it. And so never thought I was going to be a politician. Yet here I am.
Yet here you are. Our phone lines are lit up. Let's talk to Raphael in Newport News. Hi, Raphael. You're on the air.
Yeah, thanks for receiving my call. Mr. Mayor, first I'm going to start saying by simplify, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
Yes, I'm calling as a returning citizen from prison, and I want to know your vision for people like myself to be a positive contributing member of Newport News.
Okay, thank you for the call.
No, Raphael.
He's returning.
Raphael is a great question. Thank you for calling in. I want to give just credit to Sheriff Gabe Morgan. All of our programs, when we bring individuals, returning citizens back, we plug them very quickly into the community. You have a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge. I actually want to bring those individuals coming back to the community and have them share their story with the youth. Right now, we do a really good job in Newport News when it comes to the nonprofits that we have, our gun violence advocates. We give over $1.5 million to these returning citizens who are able to be what I call trusted messengers in the community, right?
Down on the ground.
They do, and I'm not calling one out because there's like 15 of them, right?
Yeah.
But they do all the work. They're boots on the ground, and we would not be in a good spot without them. So, Raphael, there are 100 ways to plug in, but the sheriff's office does a really good job with that.
And so he should contact the sheriff's office to get started?
Correct.
Okay, that's great. Let's talk to Claudine in Virginia Beach. Hi, Claudine. You're in the air. Hello? Claudine, are you there? Claudine. Okay, we'll move on to the next line then. Laura joins us from Virginia Beach. Hi, Laura. You're in the air.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you so much for taking my call. So yes, I'm from Virginia Beach, and I actually work in Norfolk Public Schools. And I have a son, an 18-year-old son that attends Virginia Peninsula Community College over in Hampton, just over the line over there. And he actually plays baseball, and he lives in Yorktown, so he's on that side of the water. And the reason for my call, I'm very passionate about our youth. And Mayor Jones, actually, I heard you on the radio earlier this week. You were on being interviewed by Shaggy and Friends, and I just really, really enjoyed that interview with you that morning. So, and then I saw you were going to be on today. But I just didn't know if the Jefferson Lab, I know that's new over in Newport News, if there had been any partnerships put in place yet in the high schools and middle schools in Newport News.
Mm-hmm.
To get mentors out there. Really, I just think that would be a great way to start touching, our youth. And I know that, that could be a great opportunity to build some mentorship programs with our young people. And so I just wanted to kind of put that nugget out there.
Okay.
I don't know if that's happening yet.
Thank you, Laura, for the call. We appreciate that.
No, Laura, that is an excellent question. So Lisa Searles Law, who's the chair of the school board, actually works at the laboratory. And so there is a perfect synergy when it comes to what's happening at the laboratory and all of the STEAM programs that we have in Newport News. And I actually went up to D.C. I was able to talk to one of the undersecretaries, and part of the grants that will continue to flow through the laboratory will only happen if there's community engagement. And so it is a top priority to ensure that all of those PhDs and all of that knowledge and all of that science is directly tied into our Newport News public school system.
So thank you for the call. So, Mr. Mayor, while we set up these next calls that are coming through, when you meet with the other mayors across the country, are there common themes that you all talk about? And if so, can you share some of those and how you all are tackling them?
So actually, right now, most of the mayors in America are meeting for our annual conference, which is in Kansas City. So Mayor Quentin Lucas. So I wasn't able to make it, but that's where most of the mayors are. But when I talk to mayors, all the conversations are less divisive. It's less Democrats versus Republicans. It's more of, how can I ensure that my schools are the best? How can I ensure that I reduce gun violence? how can I maximize the hope and belonging and diversity in my community? These are things that transcend parts of the country, that transcend political party. It's how can I ensure that my city continues to be the best place to live, to work, and to raise a family. That is what being a mayor is. It's filling in the potholes. It's the lights. It's the engineering. It's the schools. It's the water. That's what being a mayor is. And I think that has a direct influence on people on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, let's see if we can talk to Claudine in Virginia Beach. Hi, Claudine. You're on the air.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay, awesome. We were cut off earlier. It might have just been my connection.
Okay.
But happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday. Hi, Claudine. How are you? What's your question for the mayor?
My question is regarding the work of actually diversity, equity, inclusion. So your comment was a great segue to my question. I know that the city of Norfolk has a chief diversity officer. And I know that there's some other cities. I'm fairly new here. I've been here about 2 years. But I noticed that not every city in Hampton Roads has a chief diversity officer or diversity, equity, inclusion officer. And I saw that the city of Newport News was hiring for, I think it was a diversity, equity, inclusion, like program analyst or something like that. What is the city of Newport News' commitment to the work of diversity, equity, inclusion, especially given all of the additions and all of the work that you talked about earlier in terms of, like, you know, building new homes and schools and things of that nature, and making sure that there is a intentional, equitable focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion in Newport News.
Okay. Thanks, Claudine, for the call. It's good to hear from you.
No, Claudine, that's a great question. So I don't think it's any surprise that in year 2, we were able to create that position, right? It's never been created before. We're able to bring it. It should be hired soon. What I would say is, when you look at our purchasing or our budget office, we currently have a designated small woman-owned and minority-owned business coordinator, right? So that is a way that individuals can plug in directly. They can be subcontractors, because the question that I get is, the shipyard is making billions of dollars, but I don't feel that in my pocket. The way to do that is to create more women-owned, veteran-owned, Black-owned businesses, and the city will support those things. So we haven't quite gotten to the point of percentages that go to SWAM businesses, but we do have a coordinator, and that has been a focus of this administration, is to ensure equity and equality in all things.
Okay. Thanks so much for the call. We appreciate that. Then we have one more. Let's talk to Robin. Robin, not sure where you're calling from, but go ahead. You're on the air.
Downtown Newport News.
Thank you.
Tell me to turn my radio down.
Okay.
I live in downtown Newport News, 26th and Warwick. Hello, Mayor Jones. I am very happy to hear about the initiatives that you are proposing. One of the things that I know about this particular neighborhood is that I'm living in a food desert. The other thing that I have noticed is that there are all these lovely teal and green planters, and there's beautification. But once you go over the bridge to Jefferson Avenue, they are not there. Once you go further up into the 30s or 40s, they are not there. And the other thing I wanted to address was also, you mentioned some comments about it, black, white city. I happen to be African American. I am friendly with a lot of people, Denby area, all around. When I ask a white person to give me a ride home, there is fear and apprehension. So I feel a little differently about the black-white city thing.
Okay. Thanks for the call, Robin. We'll let the mayor respond.
No, I think those are good points, Robin. I would say that with redlining, with things that have happened across the country, downtowns of any cities, especially Newport News, have been historically underinvested for decades, and it's going to take some time to balance the scales. But what you've seen is, with Mayor Price, you've seen the investments in the Choice Neighborhood Initiative. You'll see more investments with parking garages and Navy and HII. You really will see the scale start to balance out. Additionally, in our latest past CIP, which is our 5-year plan, we looked at what we can look at in Denby. So the it escapes me now, but the Sherwood Shopping Center and the things that we can do uptown. So you will see investments in all part of the city. And as far as I don't even want to use racial reconciliation. I think there's multiple Newport News, but I do think that we can always work on bringing and bridging community. And as I see in the Marine Corps, we always said there's no white or black Marine. There's only a green Marine, right? Yeah. And so obviously that's what we would like to get to, but I think we're moving great strides in that.
Okay. All right. Do you also work full time? Or I know being mayor is full time.
I do everything full time. I'm also part of the Hampton University family. I want to give a shout out to my home by the sea. They have been tremendous partners on a day-to-day basis, and I'm running strategy for them as well. And just the ability to be at HBCU, to give back, to work with an amazing president and 3-star general. This is my dream role, and to balance it with the role at Hampton University has just been amazing. Speaking
of universities, so you started a task force.
I did.
For CNU,
I did.
Christopher Newport University. We had the reporters from the investigative team here at WHRO that broke the story about the neighborhood that was taken over by CNU. Where is that task force, and are things moving, things happening there?
I see we're going straight to the hard questions.
Hey, absolutely.
Barbara with the hard question. So our 4-year university is always going to be Christopher Newport University. And Admiral Kelly, President Kelly, has been an amazing thought partner. There were things that were done when I was not born or lived here that we are looking to address. We have assembled an amazing task force of community leaders, of organizers, of people who have done their work, and will be able to make recommendations to myself and to President Kelly coming up. We have the provost, Quentin Kidd, and we have the vice mayor, Curtis Bethany, a strong ally of mine. And so I am confident that we were able to have some course of actions that are going to take a look at what was done and some ways we can prevent that, but also rectify the situation. Because things have to be fair. They
Absolutely.
have to be.
Absolutely. So are we going to be calling you governor, congressman, senator, or president at any point in time, sir?
I've gotten this question a lot. And honestly, my dream job right now is mayor. There is...
Spoken like a true politician.
There is so much good that's happening in Newport News, and I want to continue to drive it. But as long as the city of Newport News will have me, I will stay at Newport News.
Now, your vice mayor is also young.
He is.
Right?
Yes.
And council now is a pretty good balance, diverse in terms of women, in terms of age, in terms of race, etc.
It's a strong balance. I would love to see more women on city council. I think that sometimes there are voices that are shut out in the conversation, and so would love to have more women on the council. I think from an age perspective, there's a lot of pros and cons to that, but I would say everyone that I've talked to, the energy, the vitality that exists in Newport News, that is the thing that's going to put us on the national map. And it's more than just traveling to a conference. It's ensuring that we're able to bring back that private capital. We've maximized our federal dollars. I'll be in D.C. in mid-July for about 2 or 3 days, talking to everyone on the Hill, trying to get even more federal funding. Because at the end of the day, as the head of the city, my job is to bring the resources back to the community, connect people to these resources, these programmings, and let them run with it.
And, I'm glad you mentioned that, because some people get the idea that when you're the mayor of one place, but you're traveling to D.C., you're all over the country, that you're not taking care of the business there. But the whole purpose is to be able to bring more funds and help to the city, right?
Agreed. I think a lot of people think that the mayor shows up for the photo and it cuts the ribbon, and perhaps there are some mayors across the country that do that, which is not a bad way to do it. I try to do everything. I try to be at the hyper local events, King Lincoln Park, I'll be at Victory Landing Park, but also still be at the White House, because if you do not have a seat at the table, you're shut out from all the federal dollars, from all the state dollars. We were able to leverage, with the help of with Senator Locke and Delegate Marcia Price, we were able to get $40 million for Newport News, When's the last time that's ever happened in the history of Newport News? There's a reason that we are coming into our Renaissance period.
So did you use Congressman Bobby Scott as kind of your mentor in terms of being everywhere? Because he's
everywhere.
He's everywhere, and so are you.
He's everywhere. No, I think there is so many mentors, Miss Joni Ivey, and there's a lot of people that have built the past. I've always said the mayor that I'm trying to be, if I could even be half the mayor that Mayor Jessie Rattley was, then I'll be a good mayor, because she was the one that really put us on the map. So I'm not there yet. Give me maybe 3 more years and I'll be there.
Oh gosh, I just love talking to you because there's just so much going on in that area, and I think that people, one of the things that you talk about also is making that eventually you think that Hampton Roads will become one big city.
One or two
big cities.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Really?
I do, because...
So you think everybody will finally give up their police departments, their fire departments, their individual school districts, because I think that's kind of what slows it down, is that there's pride of ownership, in your particular city. But at the same time, regionally, it makes so much more sense.
We are the largest MSA without a sports team for a reason. We spend a lot of time trying to figure out which company we can poach from each other. We're about, 1.7, 1.8 million people. I think it makes sense to have 2, maybe 3 cities as Suffolk starts to expand. There's a lot of ego in politics. But from a business case, we already have HR TAC and HRPTO. We already have all these regional committees. Newport News Waterworks, I give water to 4 or 5 cities. Why not consolidate the cities? Because then you combine Newport News and Hampton, you have a city the size of Cleveland. Now you're on a top 100 list, and things are different. Instead of trying to poach, Fortune 1000 companies, now you have a city of 400,000 people that can move the needle.
So when you have those meetings with the mayors across the Hampton Road cities, do you guys talk about those kinds of issues also? I know that it's pulled together because of crime and mitigating crime, but do you expand into these other ideas?
We don't have free-flowing discussion. Maybe we should. Mostly, so this morning was around the military. This afternoon is going to be about transportation and the bridge tunnel, and then there's planning, and then there's other things as well. We should do a better job of it. But what I would say is every single mayor, as well as your counties, they are committed to ensuring the success of their region. We do a good job of working together. But I think in the future, and I'm not saying it's going to happen 4 years or 5 years, but in 20 to 40 years, consolidation is going to make the most sense, especially when you look at the budgets.
We got less than a minute
Perfect.
left. Want you to say whatever you'd like to say as a final thing about your city of Newport News.
I will tell everyone, Newport News is the home of innovation, and it is the future for this reason. As we're able to double the tunnels and look at 95, expanding that, as we create this mega region, Newport News is going to be the heart and the soul of Hampton Roads. We build the world's best nuclear aircraft carriers, submarines. Anything is truly possible in Newport News. And it's not because of one person or one administration. Newport News is the best place to live, work, and raise your family because of Team Newport News. And we always need more people on our team.
So thank you so very much for being here on Another View. And I want to invite you to come back as things continue to progress, as things are added to the city. And I wish you the very best of luck.
Thank you, Barbara. I really appreciate it. We'll see you soon.
Absolutely, we will. And I thank you, audience, for listening to us today. And we hope that you've enjoyed this edition of Another View. Now, you can listen to it again, or you can share it with a friend by going to our website, anotherviewradio.org. And you can also find us on Spotify or anywhere that you go for your podcast listening pleasure. So guess what, everybody? I'm taking a few weeks off. Can you believe it? It's for some very much needed R&R, but absolutely no worries, because you'll be in great hands with producer Lisa Godley. She will be sitting in the host chair next week, along with our favorite cardiologist, Dr. Keith Newby. We look forward to having her there. And then the following week is the 4th of July, and we will have holiday programming. So the entire Another View crew will be able to take a rest and enjoy the holiday. Our theme music is an original composition created especially for Another View by Jay Sennett. Lisa Godley is our show producer. Jordan Christie is our audio engineer, and Dr. Barry Graham answered our phones. I'm Barbara Ham Lee. Have a great weekend and happy anniversary, Mr. Lee. Tomorrow marks 16 years of pure bliss. I look forward to seeing you again soon, next Thursday at noon for Another View.
Support comes from Hampton Roads Community Foundation, carrying out your charitable wishes forever, whether it's helping shelter animals, feeding the homeless, enhancing the arts, or supporting students. Learn more at leaveabequest.org.